Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the weekend preview, or 10 takes, as it's better known now. I've got the big headphones on today to make sure I can hear Brandon properly, or just because my AirPods weren't working. So off to the big headphones, big gaming headphones, we go. So we've got 10 takes here. We've got a few ones. I think we've got good spicy ones this week. We've had some good takes in the past weeks, seen a lot of really good discussion and conversations come up in the comments and on Twitter and whatnot. So it's been fun. We started doing these at the beginning of the season. We didn't know what we were going to do with the weekend episode, and so far I've had a lot of fun with 10 takes. I think it's been really fun. A good change of pace for us too, where we get to kind of just rant a little bit about things, which has been really nice. So let's start off here. I'll start off with my first take of the weekend. Timur Feist-Dudinov, captain of Dynamo St. Petersburg, passed away at 19 after taking a puck to the neck. A really wild injury. It was a normal dump-in. Hit him, I think, kind of towards the back of the head, if I remember correctly, and actually affected his carotid artery, which is really nuts. Just really sad, honestly. I just wanted to mention it because I don't think we've talked about it. We always try to talk about things that happen like that, and yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not one of those things that you can look at and expect some sort of change.
No,
in the game of hockey, it was just an unfortunate accident. It really looked like nothing. It was just a simple dump in.
It was crazy. I mean, it was just really sad. You wouldn't have thought that from that the outcome could have happened, but just a really crazy freak accident.
Yeah. All right. Into the NHL. Mm-hmm. Can you name
oh boy,
a single center on Pittsburgh other than Crosby, Malkin, and Teddy Bluger? It's funny that I have to even mention Teddy Bluger, but I feel like he's just well known enough that people would be able to think of him.
A center aside from those people?
Yeah.
No.
That's the problem, right? So Malkin and Bluger are now both on IR.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I actually thought about this. I saw Malkin and Bluger both going to IR, and I was like, who is centering any line on that team? It turns out Evan Rodriguez is one of them, which probably would have been the guy that you'd get to if you thought about it long enough. He was playing on the wing for a while, but he was a center in Buffalo. But Mark Jankowski is another one who's also kind of been all over the place, but he's centering the third line, I guess. And then the last one is Frederick Gaudreau, or the accidental Gaudreau if you're searching for Gaudreau and you're trying to add him for some reason. But I think we're recording this Thursday night. I think it's not too surprising that they're likely to lose to Jersey here. I mean, that's rough center depth. And it's not just the center depth, really. Like you look at the team, despite how hot they've been recently, and outside of Crosby's line, really, it falls off pretty quickly. I mean, you've got Crosby's line, which is Gensel, Crosby, Rust. That's a great line. It's kind of like undeniable. That's one of the better lines in the entire league. And if you look at Corsica's stats, right, like Corsica rates players, it does a decent job of rating players, and it also rates lines relative to the rest of the league. According to Corsica, the Pittsburgh second line of Brandon Tanev, Evan Rodriguez, and Kasperi Kapanen is good for dead last in the league for second lines. And their third line of Zach Aston Reese, and I'll put an asterisk here in that I actually think Aston Reese is kind of decent, so I'm not sure why he's rated so lowly, but Mark Jankowski and Sam Lafferty is 30th in the league. And then the fourth, I just don't even really include the fourth line because, it's so random. Like Gaudreau doesn't have a ranking or anything, but it's bad. They've got injuries. They've got a decent amount of injuries, but man, there's not much depth there.
No, it's bad. I didn't even realize it was that bad. But that's pretty brutal. Yikes.
Their second power play their second power play unit is Brandon Tanev.
Oh my gosh.
Evan Rodriguez, Anthony Angelo, Michael Matheson, and John Marino, who I think is hurt. So, actually, let me see. I have to see who they actually skated as their second power play unit in the game tonight.
Is that the?
Oh, he's back.
Is that
Marino
the
is
ugliest
back.
second power play ever? Potentially.
Yeah, it looks like yeah. Wow, no, they played they played Frederick Gaudreau, Evan Rodriguez, and Anthony Angelo with Mike Matheson and John Marino. Oh my goodness. How does Aston Reese not make it? I don't know. Anyway, that's a crying shame. Feels bad. They have no depth. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep their goal scoring up if they only have one working line.
Well, they did lose 2-3 to Jersey, so
that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised they didn't lose
by more. Well,
yeah,
Brian Russ got a goal.
Not that they would. Yeah, Brian Russ and Jake Gensel. Like, who else is going to score goals for them? But man, and Russ barely snuck it in. There's 5 seconds left in the game, so weird. Just weird.
Just absolute weirdness. So my next bit here is going to be on the Norris voting. So they put out a tweet that was saying who is kind of top 4 at the moment in voting. And it was pretty ridiculous to me. And also made me pause and think, wow, we are having a hell of a defensive season this year. So the top in voting was Hedman, Doughty, Petrie, and McAvoy. One, why the hell is McAvoy there? It's just a joke that he's there. The only reason he's there is because he plays on the Bruins, and apparently the voters like to touch nice things too. Doughty, don't get me wrong, he's had a great season. I don't think he deserves to be top 3.
That's all on the power play.
It's all, and that's clearly just old boys club. They know about Doughty. Doughty has this name value. Hedman deserves to be 1, in my opinion. That I do agree with. I do think Hedman should be 1. The people that are missing, though, Pionk, 61-point pace, actually higher now. All while playing 35% of the team's power play percentage. Second power play, I don't think we've ever seen a defenseman put up numbers like that on the second power play. So that's incredible, and almost all primary assists. And he's doing that all even strength. And he somehow still is in top power play. It makes no sense, honestly. But anyways, Pionk deserves a mention. Then we've got Ekblad, who also deserves a huge mention. He's having a ridiculous season. There's so many good defensemen at the moment. You've got Shea Theodore doing really well. There's a lot of really good defensemen this year, good offensive defensemen. It's going to be interesting in next year's draft to see if that continues in terms of just, do defensemen continue to be such high-powered as they are right now, or do they kind of fall off a little bit? So I was curious, I think, as well on this. Who would be your top 3 Norris candidates right now? What would be your order?
Oh, man. You're really putting me on the spot
I am.
here.
They're without research, because I know you don't have anything up. So no research, just top of your head.
I mean, I don't even want to look off the top of my head. I just need to look at a list of names. Let me at least get a list of names, for the love of God. I am stalling. Let's see. Who would be at the top? The funny thing is, I semi am cheating on this in a way, because I saw Jay Fresh's newsletter, and he actually mentioned what he would consider some of the Norris candidates for the season, and he had Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech on there for their defensive play, which, as we all know, never wins anything.
No, never.
But
where was Neil
Pionk
on his defensive play?
I don't remember.
Non-existent.
I think I'm not even sure if he's on. Yeah, I don't think he was on the list, but I feel like Hedman he's got to be number 1 for me by like a reasonable margin. It's just been too good this season. I feel like Makar would be up there if he'd played the whole season. It's hard to, like, despite how good Quinn Hughes has been, it's kind of hard to put him in that same vein because of his lack of defense in general. Man, I don't really see how you get much past. I mean, you could mention Petrie, but like Petrie also is kind of like, he's shooting 15% or whatever he's doing, and like, it's like I don't know how much you want to take into like just randomness as a category.
All of it. I mean, clearly the voters don't go by anything meaningful, so we can go by whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. This might be a hot take, but I feel like I know he's missed some games, but like Shea Theodore should probably be in the conversation somewhere. 22 points in 24 games and plays solid defense. Like,
I don't disagree.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's how does it not Hedman right now?
Yeah.
Like it has to be.
Yeah. I do
think McAvoy, like,
no.
despite being on like an 8-game pointless streak, I do think like he's just such a well-rounded defenseman that like I don't know that this is his year. Maybe if he didn't go on this 8-game pointless streak or whatever he's on right now, we'd be talking about him a little bit more. But I have a feeling he will win it at some point.
You know why he's on a pointless streak? You want to know one of the biggest reasons? Probably the power
because
play.
Grzelcyk's back.
Yeah, and Grzelcyk's back as well. It's the only reason. 8-game pointless streak. He's been absolutely brutal. Okay, so your top three is what? Hedman, Theodore, McAvoy?
No, not McAvoy.
Okay.
I don't even know what my third would be. Probably Petrie. Hedman first by a long shot, and then some sort of interchangeable Petrie and Theodore thing.
Yeah. I don't hate that. I think I'd personally go Hedman, Petrie. I think Hedman, Petrie are the obvious top two. Petrie has just been ridiculous. Hedman, Petrie, and then I'm probably torn between... Man. I'm torn between Pionk, Theodore, Ekblad, like all those guys there.
Yeah, I mean Ekblad, John Carlson as well. I mean, there's
John Carlson is one that like is completely flying under the radar for me right now, which is really insane. Like I think we're just used to him being really, really good, but his numbers are ridiculous this season. He's actually doing just about as well as last year. It's absolutely nuts, kind of ridiculous. And yeah, Dougie Hamilton as well. Shout out to him. He's on a 12-game point streak now. Absolutely killing it. Completely turned it around from the time that, of course, Brandon called him sus low, and he turned it around. That's how it works here. This year we're anti-Chickasing people. It's just how it works.
Same thing happened with Theodore last year.
Yep, exactly.
All right, moving on. My next bit here is, so Ralph Kruger was fired.
Finally.
12 games too late, probably. Although they did just drop another one. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't fire your coach and expect to beat the Bruins. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
But, so it's funny to me that Kruger gets fired and still Skinner can't find himself off the fourth line. It's just, man, what a story his contract is going to be. Just a horror tale for the future of how not to lock up a pretty mediocre player to a gigantic salary because of one good season.
You'd think that's, common sense, but sure. I don't know. It's crazy that he was still on that bottom line. So my next piece here, kind of funny, along the same lines in a way. Of course, it wouldn't be a 10 takes if I don't talk about David Quinn, at least once here. But this one actually makes sense. So the entire Rangers coaching staff was not allowed to be on the bench. So they bring up the AHL coach, who, quite frankly, is not a good AHL coach either. And then they score 9. Normally, I'd say this isn't that significant, but the fact of how free that team played, they seemed more loose to me. They seemed just a little more carefree. And on top of that, there was no line blender. It wasn't a change every 2 seconds. Like I've said, David Quinn essentially has his iPhone in his hand and just hits shuffle every 2 seconds and see what comes up. Like, that's how it feels when he's behind the bench. And so I'm curious to see what the Rangers do now that he's back. It's funny. Twitter is a funny place because on one hand, people are like, oh, this is all David Quinn's work. Clearly, like, all the work he's put in paid off this game. The other half of Twitter is like, see, this is proof. David Quinn shouldn't be behind the bench. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle where it's like, it's one game, doesn't really count that much. But at the same time, they did play more loose. There wasn't a line blender. They dominated from the first puck drop, which they didn't do. which they don't. They have a lot of trouble doing under Quinn. There was a lot of things they did different that point to me that, like, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of Quinn things there too. Did they win 9-0 because Quinn wasn't there? No. But there were a lot of things that happened that I was like, yep, that doesn't happen with a Quinn behind the bench.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I didn't watch the game because I don't care about the Rangers, but
or the Flyers.
But I mean, you have to worry about your job, though.
Oh,
like,
for
when
sure.
you're not there, they score 9 goals.
They have trouble scoring, and then all of a sudden your team, especially your biggest like players, go off. I mean, there's got to be something there.
Yeah, it's like that's not great.
That's not great. No.
Wow. So again, we're recording this Thursday night, and the Avs just put up 25 shots in the first period.
Wow.
That's a lot of shots.
That's insane.
I can't believe that Talbot is alive.
I know.
But
Someone check on him, please.
only 2 goals against. Not too bad.
bad.
All right, moving back to Buffalo. We're getting pretty close to trade time in the NHL. And what does a Taylor Hall trade look like right now? Because you have to assume somebody wants him, but he's not doing any favors for his value.
I mean,
so
is there one?
Probably. I mean, I assume somebody will do it for have the Sabres retain some cap, do some small trade for it or whatever.
I feel like there's so many people out there right now. I don't know. Taylor Hall's not towards the top of my list.
I'm sure he gets moved. I just don't know where.
Apparently, there's rumors that he might resign there, that they're open to it.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that recently. They said both camps are talking, and apparently, I don't know if it's the GM or the owner. I don't think it's the owner because the owner's the Pagulas. They said that his agent and the GM are really close or something, have a really good relationship. I don't know. I think
0% chance he resigns. I call that now.
I think he gets moved. I can't see anybody giving up too much though. Like,
no,
he's just been too bad. He's been way too bad to really garner any sort of. I get he has that pedigree, right, of being an Art Ross winner and all that, but like, nah. Or wait, he was a Hart winner. Hart winner. Of course, he didn't win the Art Ross. That'd be ridiculous. I wonder where he goes. I want to see Johnny Gaudreau in Boston.
Why?
I don't know. I just think he.
I don't want Boston getting better.
I think he'd fit. I think he'd fit that mold. I think he'd fit him perfectly. I think it'd be super awesome to see them. It'd be pretty cool to see. I'd love to see
the thing. As an Islanders fan, the thing that is funny is, when the Larson for Hall trade happened, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
The rumors were that the Islanders were going to get Taylor Hall. It was a big deal. Everybody's excited about it. And now the rumor is that the Islanders might get Taylor Hall, and it's terrifying. That narrative has changed quite a bit over the last few years.
Just a bit. I feel like with everyone, I don't think we're afraid of Taylor Hall now. I think you're afraid of Taylor Hall not resigning with you, and then if he does, you're probably overpaying. It's that double-edged sword, right?
I'm worried about it now. If it happens, I'm going to sit there and try to see the bright side and hope that
he works out,
that he plays better than he's been playing. But I can't help but think that we would be trading for him with ideas that he can be the elite scoring winger that Barzal needs and not finding it, which seems pretty likely.
Do you think he'd overtake Anders Lee though? If Anders Lee were healthy.
I mean, this season, what difference does it make?
Oh, I know, but
I don't know about re-signing him, but at least for this season, if we're trying to make a playoff push,
you need him.
Is he the guy? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I would much rather than get Gaudreau, but the price is going to be much higher. So,
yeah, I mean, I think on one hand,
other interesting options are like, not that the Islanders need him, but it sounds like Ekholm is being his name's being flying around a bit now.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, he's been
and
so
then
good.
Ricky Rax as well, which could potentially be a fit for the Islanders. Actually,
I could see Ricky Rax fitting into the Isles. I could also see him fitting into Boston. But then again, I think anyone could fit into Boston.
I mean, it does seem like Boston likes to take the leftovers from the West Coast.
I don't. So. Yeah, I agree. A patron member, Sean, just commented while we were recording this that he doesn't think that Hall fit in with the Isles, and I tend to agree. I don't think Hall's a good fit with the Isles when you consider what Anders Lee brings and the type of player that Matt Barzal is. I don't see Taylor Hall suiting that well personally. I think.
Well, I think what they need is a shoot first winger.
Yes, agreed with that.
And Hall was that. I just don't know if he is that anymore.
You know who you guys need? Elite shooter, Jakob Silverberg. Talk about a guy who just looks.
You know
the
what's
net.
funny? You know who I wouldn't mind getting? Jeff Carter.
Interesting.
That would be a cheap, like
I don't
even know what his contract looks like. He might not even be on the block at all. But
him and Lou are from like the same Stone Age.
yeah, exactly. He's 300 years old. Nobody's gonna miss him. Like it's fine. Jeff Carter's on a 5.2 until 2022, so he's got a year and a half left on his contract. That's a decent.
Nobody loves Jeff Carter as much as you love Jeff Carter.
I know.
Nobody. Absolutely nobody.
But he fits the mold, man.
Hey,
He's
look,
kind of what they need.
I've been holding out on Bob for so long, and nobody loves Bob like I love Bob. He's still doing okay. So you know what? There's hope. If Bob can turn it around for me, Carter can do it for you. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want Bob on my own team, though. That's the difference. Okay, so my next bit here, speaking of Twitter before, so Gord Miller got under some heat. The whole of hockey Twitter was on fire for a few days there. Because Gord Miller said...
Are they still? Or is that
it kind of settled down a little bit. I think Gord Miller stopped poking the bear. Or not poking the bear, but I think people just kind of stopped caring. It tends to happen with that crowd. So I don't want to go too deep into this. What I do want to say is... No, what I want. Let's give the narrative here for people who don't follow hockey Twitter. So Gord Miller was doing a Q&A. Someone had asked him if he was going to go on Spit and Chicklets. He answered and said, I won't do anything that has to do with Barstool. And the Barstool people took that personally. So they came after him quite hard. And then he defended his points and said, he laid out why he wouldn't go on Barstool. And then all of Barstool took it personally again and started going after him. He made accusations, not accusations, but essentially based on proven fact from the past that they go after sports journalists and after reporters. And, well, they went after a reporter. Dave Portnoy did a whole video thing saying he should be in jail for slander and said that things he said in the past were jokes and people just didn't get them. So I'll go on the air as well.
Slander jail's a real place.
Yeah, it is. But to say that, I mean, it's just a stupid thing to say. It's a dangerous thing to say, honestly, especially when you know what your audience does. And he said that he actually hired Vindog to go after guys like him. It's just, come on, man. Seriously. Like, Gord Miller never said anything. Like, it's just ridiculous. I'll go on the record with Gord Miller. I want nothing to do with Barstool. Ever. I want nothing to do with them. I would not go on Spit and Chicklets if they asked. No, I would do nothing with them. I echo the sentiments that Gord Miller had, the misogyny, the moments of going after reporters. And, it's funny because I see Barstool people come up all the time and be like, oh, well, they donate a bunch of money and they have a woman CEO, but I've never seen a Barstool person apologize for past acts. I've never seen them own up to what they did or actually take action towards what they did. No, instead, he says what's true, and Dave on air doesn't say, you know what, look, I messed up, I'm a different man now. No. He said, I made a joke and people didn't get it. Because
He said it missed.
Yeah. He said a joke missed. So no. It's not the people that they did wrong to that are in the wrong. No. They're in the wrong for not getting his joke. That's what it is, right? That's what all that misogyny and stuff is. It's not actual misogyny. It was just a joke, dude. You didn't get it. Nah, that doesn't fly with me. And I'll say that on air. I don't care if we get a bunch of people come after us. It's not right. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say, because it kind of infuriates me when people do that. And we've been outspoken on the show about issues before, and I'm not cool with that. And it was sad too. All the Barstool people coming in and attacking Gord Miller and other people and saying, they were saying things like, oh, well, we don't do that to women. We're good. Meanwhile, Gord Miller's daughter kind things about her father, puts things out there, and what do? They go attack a 16-year-old girl. Of course, they attack her with words, but words matter. But they go and attack a 16-year-old girl. You don't do that if you actually care. And they don't. That's the truth. So, that's my piece of anger on take 7 here. You have anything to add?
I mean, what more is there really to say?
I think I just take...
It's unfortunate that it's so unsurprising. I think that's like... We're trying to there's people, especially when it comes to a name that is big as they are, that they're shaping a lot of young people.
Yeah.
They have a huge following of youth, and just to show like such disdain over like a reasonable objection.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's just, they get called out and their responses attack like dogs. And I think the thing that pissed me off the most was Dave saying, "Oh, it's just a joke." I mean, come on. We've all made mistakes. You can tell me I'm wrong. And it's going to hurt. I agree. No, it's not nice. It's not fun to be called a racist sometimes. It's not fun to be called misogynistic. Those aren't words that kill you, though. Those are words that give you an opportunity to learn and change and accept what was being said, listen to the person you just offended, and grow from that. But no, saying that it's a joke and that it just didn't land? Nah. No thanks.
All right, moving on. So speaking of trade deadlines again, funny thing is on a lot of my leagues, I kind of didn't really know what the schedule was going to look like, and I changed all the deadlines really early on. And so our deadlines are like the end of April, which is like, I'm pretty sure that's like playoffs or no, I think it is playoffs. So I think I must have messed that up now. But my leagues that actually paid attention and did it properly, our deadlines are passing or are basically are right now. So this is the time when you really need to, I mean, we talked about it a little bit over the last couple of weeks, that this is the time when you really need to be sitting down and figure out where you are. And the closer to the top of the table you are, the more sort of, the more low, like the more guys that are not producing right now that you can wait on, right? Like you could have waited on Sabinajad where maybe you couldn't have if you're on the bubble. Now he's got a 6-point game. I mean, I don't know. Does that really carry on? But we'll see. I'm sure some sort of monkey's off his back. But the fact of the matter is that like high-end players that haven't been producing this season, you can wait a little bit longer on. But if you're the further down the list you are, the further you are to not making the playoffs, the more that you really need to move guys like that. And you really need to just take a gamble on players that are doing really well lately, and try to ride the wave. That doesn't mean go after the most unsustainable players you can that got like a recent hat trick or something, but it means to say that if a player has gotten increased ice time and a better deployment, and it seems shaky, but it's been working out so far, those are the types of players you should be considering. Guys like Joel Farabee and Rope Hintz and things like that, where you might want to drop, somebody that you've had all season, like a Connor Garland, or for example, I finally dropped John Gibson, and this just is despite me not really being a bubble team in this league, but just realizing that despite how good of a goalie I think he is as an individual, I don't think he can help me this season, and I'm better off kind of cutting my losses. I probably should have earlier. And these are decisions that, like, as we get closer to the playoffs, and as you get closer to missing the playoffs potentially, you really have to make these hard choices. And with the trade deadline coming, it's a really good sync up for very good teams to hook up with bubble teams and trade those slumping high end players, your Taylor Halls, for example, for kind of good upstarts that maybe weren't even drafted. So that's just some of the things you should be paying attention to really closely now, especially if you're about to run out of time for your trade deadlines.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you want to do. You don't want to grasp at straws or touch any nice thing that moves, right? Like the first thing that moves is not the thing you want to be picking up. It's necessarily, you want to be paying attention to what changes there are out on the teams, who's becoming top power play, who's getting more minutes, what are those things that are happening, and then taking a little bit of a gamble on that in hopes that it sticks. But you're making an educated gamble. Now, that actually leads into my next point perfectly. So we recommended Gostisbehere at the beginning of the week, and he got scratched twice. I picked him up. This hasn't been a good time.
Yeah, I picked him up too.
Yep,
Figures.
that's not been a good time. But that's one of those ones where, like, when you're top of the table, you can do, and didn't work out. Sucks, but, is what it is. I think Gostisbehere is a good example, actually, of if you're towards the bottom of the table. Gostisbehere was actually a little bit, and maybe this is a little bit on us not saying this or recommending this, and I didn't actually think about this until today. Gostisbehere might have been too risky of a pick if you were towards the bottom of the table in terms of a pickup, because that floor was there, right? Like, when you're bottom of the table, you've got to manage your floor. You can't afford a guy who could do nothing. And Gostisbehere, quite frankly, it was that guy. He was a guy who could be incredible and could now steal that top power play. But, I mean, when he's not top power play, he does nothing. So that's one thing you've got to think about when you're bottom of the table with some of these pickups, or towards the bottom, is when you're towards the top, you can afford that floor falling out. When you're towards the bottom or trying to make playoffs or even in the middle in kind of a battle, you can't afford that floor to fall out. And so you do need to be a little bit smarter with, okay, what is the risk I'm taking on by picking up this player? If, like, say, Ghost ruined your week, I'd argue you already had too low of a floor to begin with, and you shouldn't be picking up somebody that is like Ghost, where when the floor falls out, you're really, really screwed. And that pickup just did nothing for you,
Yep. Okay. The last bit, this has been a long 10 takes.
Jeez.
Is the Blackhawks are finally human again. In fact, I'm going to take a quick look and see what their shot production is, because it'll change this little data point that I had here potentially, or their shots against were. Let's see if it continues the streak. It didn't. Wow, they actually broke the streak. But anyway, I'll mention it anyway. They allowed 30 or more shots for 9 straight games. Up until tonight, actually, where they only allowed 23. And they lost. But, so 9 games of 30-plus shots allowed. That's a lot of shots. It's really hard for any goalie to be able to keep up with that. And that includes playing against Detroit twice. One of those games, they won 7-2, but allowed 46 shots. and also against Dallas twice, who are not a big shooting team either. So I think they're finally starting to regress to a little bit more of what was expected from them. It's not that we expect them to lose every single game or anything like that, but allowing those kind of shot production, that kind of shots against, is sort of what we were thinking was going to happen on that team. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them, they may make the playoffs, but I don't really know how they make it past the first round.
Mm-mm.
So,
Well, they're human again. That's good. Lankinen decided
Sorry
to be...
for Lankinen.
Lankinen decided to be human the week I played him. I like it. Thank you, Lankinen.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. So should we move on to the weekend pickup suggestions? So my first one is going to be Mattias Ekholm, who you scoffed at a little bit when I put him on long-term targets a few weeks ago, but now he's looking mighty interesting. He's only 39% rostered. I'm a fan. He's top power play still. His shots have kind of come down a little bit. It's very hit or miss. One game he'll shoot 3 times and he'll shoot 1 time. It's very all over the place. What I like Mattias Ekholm in, though, is points leagues more than anything. Cats leagues, it's questionable unless what you need is points. Then he's a good option. And honestly, I mean, point-getting defensemen are hard to come by. So for that reason, you probably should like him. But yeah, Mattias Ekholm was probably my favorite pickup just in general, not just for the weekend. I think he's someone who could turn into that longer-term hold.
Yeah, I think things have definitely changed for him since Yossi got injured. But my first one is for this weekend, Cody Glass, center right wing, 4%. He's really interesting if Stevenson stays out. He's centering that Pacioretty-Stone line. Produced a power play goal in his last game. He was pretty cold coming into that, and his ice time has really jumped up since Stevenson's been out. So we don't know, again, recording this Thursday night, we don't know if Stevenson's going to play in either of the next 2 games. He could, but if he doesn't, I like Glass in that case. So might not be somebody that you can kind of grab. Well, I mean, if you're listening to this on Friday, hopefully you have same day ad. Maybe you grab him for the Friday game and hope that you get him for the Sunday. You might not though. But if he is available, he's a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, I do like that suggestion, although I will say it seems like Stevenson might play one of the 2 games. He is day-to-day and seems like a game-time decision. So there's a good chance that he plays. My next one is from the Vegas Golden Knights, who have 2 off nights. Them and LA are the only 2 teams that have off nights. And Reilly Smith is going to be my option there, 33% rostered. Not a lot of points as of late, but he's playing a lot of minutes. So he's playing that 19, 18 minutes a game with lots of shots. I mean, his shots recently have been insane. So he's a good Cats League option if you count shots and you need that. Decent Points League option, although points just haven't been coming. Although I will say I think that he's been rather unlucky on the points front. And there's a chance against LA that they come, although LA's been really good. And I have 2 suggestions from there coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I also have suggestions from LA.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what your 2 are going to be, but I'm going to start with Jeff Carter at center, left wing, right wing, 11%. Yeah. He's playing top power play now, and he's still he shoots like 3 times a game, pretty much on lock lately. So that's been a nice change for him. I don't know how long they'll keep him on that top power play, but I do like that he is there for now. 11%, he's pretty widely available for a guy that's going to play 2 off nights and is completely eligible in all forward positions. So nice versatility there as well. Not the easiest matchup against Vegas, of course, but still.
Yeah. My first one from LA is going to be Alex Iafallo, our usual suspect. I like him more than Kempe personally. I know Kempe's been kind of the hotter one if you look at the last 2 weeks, but I like Iafallo's situation a lot more than Kempe's, and I see it as a much more consistent option as well.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. My next one is Casey Desmith. Goalie, 20% owned. Unfortunately, because of their lack of center depth, we'll have to see if he can actually pick up wins or not. But he's going to be playing against New Jersey, either when they're both rested or when they're both tired, most likely when they're both tired on Sunday. So decent pickup with a decent matchup there, even though they just lost to the Devils. I still think, even despite their lack of center depth, that they are the better team.
Yeah, I agree. My last one here, well, I had Jonathan Bernier, but he's injured. So I don't know. Even though all of you laughed at me about Jonathan Bernier, look at his last few games. Look how good he's been behind that team, especially with just how many shots he gets. I mean, that's what I felt. I felt he had a good floor. So instead of that, I'm going to go Cal Petersen. Been incredible with the Kings. And I remember I mentioned this at the beginning of the season. I said, keep an eye out on Cal Petersen, because if the Kings figure out their defense and go back to the Kings of old, we could see Cal Petersen become something. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Cal Petersen, is he's really taken the reins. I think this is his net now, even if Quick miraculously comes back at some point. But for now, this is Petersen's net. And he's been playing really, really well. So I do like him a lot this weekend. Even though it's against Vegas, I still like it.
My last one is an old friend, and that's it's Curtis Gabriel. It is.
Yep, I saw it. I knew it.
I mentioned him at the beginning of the week, so it's probably not too surprising to hear him here. But the dude just likes to punch people. He's just his favorite. He's going to be playing against the same team twice in a row. You have to assume he gets in at least one fight during that, with like a Sammy Blais or somebody, or like a Gunnarsson or whoever.
Someone.
Yeah, I I can't imagine him avoiding a fight if he's playing the same team twice in a row.
Yeah.
It's potential that he gets in 2 fights or winds up just getting in one big one, getting tossed.
Yeah.
So for pims and hits, he's going to be hard to. Well, not Gunnarsson, but Bertuzzo is who I was thinking of. But he's going to be somebody to watch out for in those if you need pims and hits.
Well, there you go.
I guess it could have been Gunnarsson, but Gunnarsson's, I think, hurt right now. But
well, there it is. That 10 takes had it all. Gamby rant, had trade talk, fire David Quinn talk. Had everything, honestly. Norris talk. Goss is
full episode.
It was a full FHP episode. Well, anyways, thank you for listening. It's quite the episode. I'm drained. But I'm excited. The playoffs are right around the corner. Pickups start mattering a hell of a lot more. Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Yep. Thanks for listening.